woke up this morning and thought, man, this is my 30th year of starting a season, and I guess that means I'm old. But it also I had great excitement, and so I think that's a way that you judge. I tell people in our program all the time. Truthfully, my job really is about helping everyone in our program, from coaches to players to managers, create value for themselves for future opportunities. And when those opportunities come, you're prepared because of the time we spent together. And so I think one of the ways you judge kind of what ambitions and passions are in life is, man, are you excited when you wake up in the morning and you get to do it? And this is my 30th year of starting a camp, and man, I couldn't sleep very much because everything's running through my mind of just the excitement and anticipation of, can we teach and mold and coach well enough to give our kids a chance to win football games, but also win in life, and can you balance all of that? And that's always racing through my mind of what that really looks like. And so day one for me was exciting, and I thought our kids brought great energy. Obviously, I was a little disappointed in the number of MAs that some of our receivers made, because we've got a few veteran guys there. We've got to get that cleaned up. Thought they took care of each other pretty well while giving great effort and trying to stay off the ground and off of each other. That's hard to do when you go in team periods, but really, it was pleasing for day one. I'll be anxious to see if we are able to clean up the mental mistakes. There's a how to do things and there's a what to do, and the hows are going to get messed up sometimes. You're going to play with poor technique. You're going to get beat in a one-on-one, but the what to do, that comes down to us communicating effectively and being great teachers, and that'll be the challenge to our coaching staff this afternoon when we watch the film.
Coach, what did you think of some of the transfers who came in during the summer? Did you like what you saw out of them in this first practice?
Man, this is always the tricky thing with media when you do it right after practice, and I hadn't even watched the film yet. I'd have to go on based off of just what Coach Dom and the strength staff say, and everybody's got improvement to make in certain areas, whether it be effort or whether it be conditioning or strength or change of direction or all those things. I think that would be the case for most every transfer and probably most every returner. But I haven't been disappointed with anything to this point. So hopeful, we're optimistic that we get through camp, that we'll have found some of those that came in that are going to add great value to us.
How important is it for you to have that competition with the quarterback room right now, instead of just saying, this guy's done this at this place, so he should be the guy, or this guy's been here for this long and he should be, but making them go out there and earn it?
I've said I think any time you create competition in any position room, it's beneficial. The kids that are able to handle that and raise the level of their play are the ones you want to go to battle with, and the ones who don't want to compete to earn something, you're probably not going to win many games with them. And I tell recruits all the time, I'm going to recruit the heck out of you, and if it's a quarterback, I'm going to try to out-recruit you the next year. And so is everybody else. They may not tell you that, but you're going to carry 4 or 5 scholarship quarterbacks on the roster, and you got to compete every year to earn that spot. So I think all of the ones in that room right now have shown signs that they're willing to compete for it.
Speaking of the quarterbacks, are you pleased with where they're at mentally coming into camp as far as, doing their study and stuff in the playbook?
I thought so, but today I would have to say I'm skeptical until I watch the film. I thought we leaned way too heavy on pulling runs for the RPOs, and I've got to get that cleaned up. I mean, I think maybe it's probably they're just anxious to throw, but if the safety's still at 8 to 10 yards, even though he's in the run fit, I want us to lean toward handing that ball off. And today we really leaned the other way, I believe. Now, again, I need to watch the film, but I thought from my eyes there were 5, 6, 7 times that I understand it's going to be a 7-man fit, but that 7th guy is still at 10 yards. Our running back's got to earn his keep some too, and we can't just lean toward pulling and throwing it every time. So he needs to be down in there at 5 and 4 yards for us to do that. And I thought that's the one thing that I thought stuck out from the quarterbacks is I just thought we leaned the wrong way for what I want us to be.
Coach, another quarterback question. Now, obviously, the last 2 years, you had your starter set, it was established, but you still had to develop quarterbacks underneath them. If you can just talk about just the value of the quarterback development, whether you have an established starter and versus the situation you're in now.
Well, I think it's, we approach fall camp. Malik's year 1 was this exact way. Now, obviously, year 2, we all knew, he had earned the right to have that spot. I think we're just back to that year 1 like we had with Malik. And creating depth is invaluable. And I really don't think that this will really totally shake out until we play some games. I mean, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. There's a lot of QBs that they don't perform their best in practice, and yet when the lights come on, oh my gosh, they're a player. I've had that. Bo Wallace was that way. Ryan Applin was that way. Malik was that way to a certain extent. Chad Kelly was good all the time, but you could watch some of these others practice and you think, oh my gosh, we're not going to be able to throw the ball at all in the game. And then the game starts and oh this guy, he competes. And so it could be some of that. I do think it'll go into the season a bit before we kind of really know what's what on that.
So with that being said, depending on whose name is started, you foresee multiple guys getting action in quarterback?
Well, the likelihood, if whoever gets that nod goes out there and is 8 for 8 and making the right decisions and we're scoring points, he probably won't lose that spot. And that's if we're unsuccessful, then certainly we think it's worth us trying other people. But I honestly think that we have 4 guys that could go in there and get the job done, which is a good feeling.
With the success that you guys have had as far as just getting to bowl games over the last few years, do you think that adds more motivation to the new crop and a new team to sort of keep that streak going and maybe not be the ones to mess it up, I guess?
Well, I think it goes either way. I think you either have a group that's motivated to look at the success we've had, which is basically judged on bowl games as we're still independent, and winning those bowl games when we get those opportunities, and we've been very good at that. And so the groups before them have responded the right way to that being the goal. As far as the spoken goal of the outcome of games, we have other things that we focus on too, but that's something now. You can look at that and be motivated to continue that trend with the most difficult schedule we faced since we've been here. Or it could also work the other way, and you could be somewhat satisfied and buy into the lie of we're entitled in some way to be guaranteed some type of outcome without the sweat equity that's needed to get there. And so that's the challenge that I think we have to face to be mindful of. So I think it could go either way, and certainly we hope they respond the right way. And I want to continue the trend of being one of the few teams in the nation that can say that you've won 3 in a row. Now let's make it 4.
Is that something that you're vocal with the team about, sort of setting those larger season expectations?
Absolutely. I was very clear with that yesterday. That is the goal. We don't get into how many games that means we win or lose. I mean, I don't get into all of that. I just think the long game. The long game is we prepare to win every single game that is in front of us at that moment. And we do that as well as we can, and we'll see what the scoreboard says. All right, it didn't say it worked out for us today. Good, we got another opportunity. We got 12 of those opportunities. And hopefully enough of them work out by the way we approach each one that give us the blessing of playing in another bowl game.
Coach,
Ed's got a
Then
question.
next year we'll move on to another goal.
Ed's got a question in the chat room. Ed, unmute yourself and go ahead.
Hugh, the offensive line's the other interesting part of the offense and trying to get all these pieces on the right page. How long into practice do you go? How do you measure the progress of that particular unit, especially this early in camp, given the communication element, that there are multiple quarterbacks with different styles that they're protecting right now?
Yeah, the first two practices, when you don't have pads on, you judge it based upon their execution and assignment. It's really hard to – I mean, they're going to get beat in some one-on-ones because we're asking them not to bang shoulders, not to do something. So when they initially engage, the D lineman's going to win. And so it's hard to really judge kind of where they are and until we put some pads on and we can actually see how we do in staying balanced between the run and pass game. But I tell you, there's no group that's working any harder. Coach K's done a really nice job of bringing them together. I think they're the hardest working group on our team right now, and I'm pleased as to their effort and where they are right now.
Are there any position groups you are happy with depth early here in camp, or are there some that you want to see development-wise that could be pleasantly surprising as camp goes?
I mean, for entering 4 years, we've had 3 years to recruit now. I like our depth at most places. I wish I guess if I had to say, I wish we had one more safety, and I'd always take another inside D lineman if we could find one. But I think, numbers-wise, we're pretty good. I mean, we need to create some depth at receiver, and particularly the slot behind Demario. Tailback, I think we have quality depth there. Quarterback, tight end. We've got the right numbers. We just need to see how they develop behind Jerome. Fairly, I would take another safety and maybe another slot and another D lineman and feel really good. But I feel pretty good, just hopefully we can stay healthy.
Coach, you mentioned you're in your 30th fall camp, and obviously over the last 30 years since you got into it, there's been a lot of changes. Have there been any changes in the sport of college football, whether on the field or off the field, it's kind of been a shocker to you? I know there's been so many since we started.
Oh, Lord. I don't know. I mean, the biggest shocker is just the current state of where we are, but it is what it is, and we can talk about it and complain about it and argue about the free agency and the lack of value we're placing on the student athlete, now, and I don't mean coaches and administrators. I just think the value of getting an education through sport is really, it's lost some of its value, and that's to me a negative, because very few are going to make a living playing this game. And that would probably be the biggest gripe that I would have, is just I think we've lost some of the, and that probably leads to maybe a lack of gratitude for. It's a blessing to get a scholarship, to get your college paid for. I mean, that's a blessing, and now it's almost like that's not enough of a blessing. And so I think that's sad in some ways, and I'm not against young men doing well with their name, image, and likeness. I don't have a single problem with that, but I do think it's a poor reason to choose a place to go to school.
And then obviously, you know, you've seen the upgrades of facility. I mean, when I started covering games here in 2015 to see where it is today, just how neat to see, you know, you got even more new stuff coming to Williams Stadium. It's gotta be neat to see the growth of this facility over there.
Yeah, I'm thankful. Our administration really has great vision with that. I'm terrible at that. That's not, I just don't, I don't know whether, I wouldn't know how to even start that. And they ask me, I'm thankful that they ask me things, but I just trust them with that and stay out in my lane. The only thing I ask is the stuff going to be finished? You know, because I look out my window every day and I'm like, oh my goodness, you know, and, but I trust our administration with that. I don't really get into it too much, but it sure looks beautiful. The new turf going down, you know, the south end zone, with all the changes they're making there with the new suites and the cabana area. I think it's going to be a pretty neat atmosphere to watch a football game in.
How much do you stay in touch with Malik, and I guess what was sort of his mindset and kind of how his approach to entering training camp?
I don't bother him too much. I might shoot him a text every now and then, but we're busy, swamped. He FaceTimed me last night, and it was good to hear from him. He knew we were starting camp and wanted to wish us well, and he gave me an update. He's pleased with where he is. He thinks he's comprehending things well, and typical Malik is very patient and not caught up in how fast he gets time or not. He just wants to get better every day. I think he's approaching it the right way.
I just saw something on Twitter actually about him that I guess the quarterback's coach is impressed with his decision making and ability to retain information. That didn't surprise you, I'm sure.
No, I thought you know, in our 2 years with him, I thought he was able to process things very well, and most games executed really well with decision making. So it doesn't surprise me.
Do you think that was a good landing spot in Tennessee? Obviously, they were the top seed last year, and to kind of maybe sit behind Tannehill for at least a year.
Yeah, I do. I honestly felt good about Pittsburgh, Seattle, and Tennessee. Probably would have been the top three that I felt like were really good places for him. And you know, I don't think there's pressure to go in, and you can sit behind a veteran and learn if that's what you're called on to do. And if there's a package that you can go in and run with Derrick Henry, I would like to call that play. I have a few ideas for those two that would make it tough on some short yardage and red zone stuff, but you know, I think it's a good spot. You got a veteran to learn behind, a really good defense, and you know, a good system for him.
And Coach, you know, obviously looking around all the facilities, we see the Conference USA logos. Last year Independence. How neat to know, okay, this last year Independence, but next year there's a conference championship. You're going to be in a conference.
It's exciting. You know, we won't spend a lot of time this year talking about that. We have, when the decision was made, we've talked through that, and we talk about it quite a bit in recruiting with the young men and families we're recruiting. But with this team, we won't discuss that a whole lot. That has nothing to do with this year. But we'll turn our attention to it next year, and certainly the goals will look a bit different.
Coach, you want to ask?
I was going to ask about AGG. He recently retired. We had a chance to talk to him recently.
Just briefly, he was at practice today. I think he's going to be around today. I'll find time to visit with him today or tonight before he leaves here.
Can I ask you about your running backs real quick? I think I read during the summer you felt like this is probably as good as it's been, that running back room since you've been here.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question.
Yeah, Day adds a lot to that.
Certainly, but I like TJ. I like Shadro. I think Malik's got some value too. I like all four of those guys, and Day certainly has added some depth to that and competition to that room. I like that room.
We got time for one more question.
You brought up recruiting. How's recruiting been going this summer? And I asked you in the spring about the NCAA abolishing the 25 cap limit. Has that helped in recruiting so that way you're not hampered by that number?
Yeah, I think recruiting's gone extremely well. I think the biggest challenge to recruiting right now is judging when to slow down based on what could be, which you have no idea. I mean, you could lose 10 kids, you could not lose any. You got to manage the 85 number cap. Them doing away with the 25 was only logical. It's one of the logical things that they've done. I don't know how in the world you can preach to have student health, safety, and welfare and not be able to replenish your roster should the transfer portal hit you. So that was only logical. That had to happen to allow us to get to the 85, by each given fall. So that had to happen.